Alright, so today we have a new topic for you. Last time we had basics of critical reasoning and now we have vocabulary. So, you know, before we start studying vocabulary, it's important to know the how and the why of vocabulary. So, let's look at how we usually study words, right? How do we memorize words? Reading is one of the methods. It is the best method. It's good. Reading, on a side note, is going to help you in multiple ways on your test, in your life. So, if you are a reader, you already have, an edge over the others. But the problem is that it is also the slowest method. Why is it the slowest method? Perhaps 70% of the words that you read, or maybe 60% if you're a beginner, will be words that you see every day. And as you progress as a reader, you will see fewer words that are new to you. So that is why it's a slow method. The other thing is, I read a word, I read for context, right? I try to understand what role is this word playing in this sentence, in this line. Now, the same word may mean two different things, maybe multiple things in multiple contexts. I'll give you an example. If we take the word cleave, Cleave, cleave could mean, break apart, cut apart. The country was cleaved due to civil war. Cleave could also mean join. He cleaved the two parts with a welding gun. Okay, so totally different meanings of the word. So reading the best, but also the slowest. Going through a dictionary, I know of better ways to waste your time. Word list and flashcards work, but they have limited utility because there's only so much that we can memorize. Let me give you some more reasons why we need to learn words. Number one, vocabulary based questions appear in most CLAT passages. So we get questions, which of the words from the passage means this, or what is the meaning of this word as used in the passage. In many cases, it becomes difficult to understand a piece of text or a vital part of an RC passage because we don't know the keywords or phrases. I personally remember there was this instance where there was this Latin phrase in the passage and it was repeated multiple times. A lot of students came back and said, well, I didn't attempt the passage because there was this Latin phrase and I didn't know the meaning. Well, if they had read for context, they might have understood it, probably would have understood it. But that is how it becomes intimidating when we don't know some of the words in the passage. A passage is deemed easy or hard based on how difficult it is to read. And finally, who doesn't envy Shashi Tharoor? So these are these are my 4 reasons from a very academic point of view, except for the last part, why you need to improve your vocabulary. But there are other reasons also. Let's look at those. Vocabulary improves our communication. It's having the exact word for that sentiment, for that feeling, for that communication that you want to go across. So, sometimes I don't have the right word and I keep searching for the word, right? And if I have the right word, then as long as the listener and I both understand the word, we both get exactly what we want to say. Secondly, vocabulary opens your mind. For sure, the better my vocabulary is, the more I will read from different sources that are not familiar to me. And the more I read from different sources, I read different viewpoints, I read different topics, the more my knowledge improves, my mind gets better. And then vocabulary gets you results. So this was a test done that floor bosses have 32% score on a vocabulary test, foremen have 42, superintendents have 51, managers have 62, presidents and VPs have 87. So vocabulary, as you go up the hierarchy, you will find people have better vocabulary. The difference between the right word and almost the right word is the difference between lightning and a lightning bug. And this was Mark Twain, the master of such funny, humorous quotes. The lightning bug, of course, is a firefly. How to improve memory and retention? So, we have to understand what are the functions of a word. Okay. How to write it, how to speak it, and how to think that word or using that word. So these are the three functions of the word. It helps us write, it helps us speak, and it helps us think. So the first method is to improve memory and retention. The first method is to learn the correct pronunciation. Okay. The second one is to learn the correct spelling. And then to master the literal and the figurative meanings of the word. This is our method one, that get the right pronunciation, learn the right spelling, and know what this word means literally, like really, and figuratively. In a figurative sense, what does this word mean? So we'll take this word. Okay. So French word, it's come into English. Now the word is bourgeois, bourgeois, right? So what does this mean? So now first I learn the pronunciation. My pronunciation might be a little off. If you go to a French man, he might have a slightly different pronunciation, but I'm more or less on point when I say bourgeois. Okay. So first I learn the pronunciation, bourgeois, bourgeois, right? Online dictionaries, if you go to Collins or any good dictionary, they will also have a small speaker next to the word. So you click on that speaker and you will hear the word being said in the right way. So we learn how to speak the word. That is number one. Then we see how it is used, right? So for example, if we say modern bourgeois society, said Nietzsche, was decadent and enfeebled, a victim of the excessive development of the rational faculties at the expense of will and instinct. Quite a boring, long sentence. But if we look at the overall meaning of the sentence, so first, the word is Nietzsche, that's how his name is pronounced. It was decadent, decaying, enfeebled, weak. It depended too much on rational faculties. That means too much on the logic part of it rather than willpower and instinct. So that is how we use the word in the context of a sentence. So it is related to the social middle class. If we say bourgeois society, bourgeois modifies society as a noun, so bourgeois becomes an adjective. Otherwise, we can also use the word to denote a person. So the first method was we learn the pronunciation of the word, we learn the spelling of the word, and we learn the usage of the word. The second method is let's learn to club words together. How do we do that? So I personally maintain a Google Sheet. I see a new word. So first I will put the word in the first column. The first column is the serial number, second column is the word. The third column will be, I'll copy paste the pronunciation of the word as it is intended. In the third column, next column, I will write a sentence that explains the meaning of the word. If the word has multiple meanings, I will take perhaps the top two or the top three. And then in the next column, I will keep that column blank, and I will keep adding synonyms as I come across. I'll perhaps find a couple of synonyms on the dictionary page itself, so I'll copy paste them. But if I come across more synonyms, more antonyms later, I'll keep adding them to subsequent cells. So what that does is, I have the word, I have the pronunciation, I have the contextual usage, meaning, I have synonyms, I have antonyms. So what that does is that once a month I'll just go through my sheet, from top to bottom. I'll spend a couple of hours, go through all the new words that I've added. And once a month, I'll revise the entire previous ones also. Okay. So what do we do? For example, if you're looking for words of praise, okay, panegyric. I remember the first time I read this word was in the biography of a hockey player, an Olympian. So he'd used this word to describe how the foreign press had hailed Indian hockey team. Formal or elaborate praise. Encomium, a similar word. Glowing, warmly enthusiastic praise. So now we have a sentence, we have the meaning. Now the only difference between panegyric and encomium is that panegyric is more formal, while encomium is enthusiastic, so it's a little bit informal. Eulogy usually means a speech given at a funeral, praising the person, his life, his achievements, whatever. But it doesn't necessarily, the word itself doesn't mean speech given at a funeral. The word, the root eu means good, logy means words. So eulogy very simply means good words or good speech. But contextually, I don't remember seeing this word except in terms of a funeral, a speech given at a funeral. Kudos. Fame, renown resulting from an act or achievement. So it's more informal than any of the other words on the slide. And commend is a rather more familiar word to formally praise someone. So all of these words are nearly the same but have subtle differences. So if you know that these words mean nearly the same, but eulogy is used at a funeral, panegyric is formal praise, encomium is enthusiastic, so slightly informal, you will know which word to use in context. Now, incidentally, I checked. The words for criticism are perhaps 3 or 4 times the words that we have for praise. So it makes sense to look at some words related to complaint or criticism. So when you remonstrate with someone, you're complaining about something. So I remonstrated that I need more money, so please increase my salary, right? Admonish, to warn someone to not do something, usually in a kind way. So as a mother would, as a parent would, as a well-wisher would. So admonish. Reproach, to criticize someone, especially for not being successful at doing something. Condemn, perhaps the harshest word of the lot, to criticize something or someone strongly, usually for moral reasons. Castigate, another word very similar to condemn, perhaps even harsher. Okay, so castigate means to subject to severe criticism, punishment. So judge castigated the lawyers for their lack of preparation. Again, what I want to show you is that I have these words. So I remonstrated with my friend when he paid the bill and did not allow me to share it. I admonished my younger brother when he tried to pay the bill. Okay. I condemned my friend for not contributing any time that we went out to eat as a group. So, different contexts, different situations, different words. So, the first method was learning the pronunciation, learning the spelling, and learning the meaning. The second method is putting the new words that you learn together. Okay, so these are similar words, these are similar words. I use a Google Sheet, you can use a notebook, depends on whatever you're most comfortable with. So that is my method number 2 for increasing your vocabulary. Method 3, no. Unfortunately, Shah Rukh Khan is not going to teach you vocabulary. But why are we looking at Shah Rukh Khan? नाम तो सुना होगा. What does his name mean? Most Indian names have meanings, right? So what does his name mean? Okay. So if we look at this, the two words that comprise his name, let's break it up. Shah means king, so the Shah of Iran and so on. Okay. And Rukh actually has 3 meanings. One is direction, one is tree, and the third one is face. So, Shah Rukh means one with the face of a king. So, if you know that the meaning of Shah is king and the meaning of Rukh is face, so what is the meaning of Shah Jahan? You can easily guess, right? Shah, king, Jahan, world. So, king of the world. If Rukh has face, Rukh can also be tree or direction. But we also know that Rukhsana is a feminine name. So, what would Rukhsana mean? One with a pretty face? Perhaps. I'm just taking a guess. But once I know the meaning of the root, I can take an educated guess on what could be the meaning of the word. If Jahan means world, what does Noor Jahan mean? Noor, light, radiance. Jahan, world. So the light of the world, the radiance of the world. Most words are made up of component parts called roots. And I think this is one of the most efficient ways of learning new words, because a lot of roots spawn a lot of words. So if I know that one root, I'll perhaps know 10 words. Okay. Let's look at an English word now. Recrudescence. Okay. So let's break this up. Breaking up is complicated. So it's 3 roots there. Re, crud, and essence. Repeat, regenerate. So re usually means again. Crude, it's a very crude way of saying something. So what does crude mean? It means unpolished, newly formed, right? Essence. Let's look at essence. Essence means in the process of. So re means again, if essence means in the process of, so adolescence, in the process of becoming an adult. Obsolescence, in the process of becoming obsolete. So essence means the process of becoming, re means again, crude means new. So recrudescence means the process, in the process of or the process of becoming new again, or just becoming new again. So that is recrudescence. Another word that goes with the same meaning is renaissance. Re means again, ne, N-A-I, is a Greek word which means new, and sans again is a variation of essence which means in the process of. So renaissance means in the process of becoming new again. Let's look at another word. Now, again, let's look at the roots. 3 roots there. Very. Very is usually related to truth. Similis means similar or related to. Tude usually is a noun. Attitude, magnitude, amplitude. So these are usually tude as a suffix usually denotes a noun. So verisimilitude, truth, similar. So that means having the appearance of truth. It may or may not be true, but it has the appearance of being true. So his story had an element of verisimilitude. That means I don't know for sure if his story was true, if he was saying the truth, but it seemed to be true. So now we know that veritas means truth. So these words on your screen are from the same root, verity, truthfulness. Veracity, another word for verity, truthfulness. Veritable, something that can be verified to be true. Verify. Verisimilitude, we just discussed this word. Aver, aver means to state confidently. When will I state something confidently? When I know that this is the truth. So aver means to state confidently, and it is because I know this to be true. Let's look at another word. We have 2 words, melodious, mellifluous. Now, they both seem similar, and you are probably familiar with both the words. Okay. So, if we look at 2 more words, mellow and ameliorate also seem similar. What is common in all 4 of these words is that all of them contain mel. So, somewhere or the other in the word there is the root mel. So, what does mel mean? Mel means honey or sweet. The word, the name of the disease, diabetes mellitus. Now, why was it mellitus? In ancient Greece, physicians found that some people, their urine had a sweet taste. Now, why would they go around tasting people's urine? I don't know. But they found that the urine had a sweet taste. So that is how it became mellitus. Okay. So mel means sweet. All of these words are related to sweet. Mellow means free from harshness. Ameliorate, to make a bad situation better. Melodious, mellifluous means very sweet sounding. Lata Mangeshkar had a melodious voice. The song flowed mellifluously from her mouth. So, mellifluous means sweetly flowing. Mel means, as we discussed, honey. Another word related to melodious is euphonious. Now, eu means good. We discussed this when we discussed eulogy. Phone is related to sound. The root ous usually means full of. So, dangerous, hazardous, humongous. All of these are full of. Right? So, U is good, phone is sound, OUS is full of. So, full of good sound. Very similar to melodious or mellifluous. Now, from phone, we get words such as phonetics, sounds of a language. Telephone, the root tele means distance, phone means sound. So sending sound across distance is telephone. Phonograph is a record player. Symphony, musical composition. Cacophony, kakos in Greek means bad. So kakos, bad, harsh, phone, sound. So if you give me a guitar, now I don't know how to play a guitar, but the sounds that I will create will not be a symphony, it will be a cacophony. Phony, something that sounds good but actually isn't. Something that sounds genuine but actually isn't. One of the stories behind the word phony is that in olden times, I I go to a merchant, I give him a gold coin to pay for something. Now, he didn't have access, he could not run to a jeweler and say, okay, please check this coin for me, right? So, the traders, the merchants were so good at detecting, they would just bang the coin against something, and from the sound that it produced, they would come to know whether the coin is genuine gold or not. So that is one of the stories why phony is called phony. It is related to the sound that the coin produced. Whether the story is true or not, I don't know, but this is a very interesting story. And once we have a story associated with a word, it becomes very difficult to forget the word. So that is a bonus tip. If you can associate a story, if you can associate a person with a word, you will be more likely to remember it. So I had a student, what he'd done was, on the inside of his cupboard, he had made uh, let's say, the printout of an Excel sheet, right? On one axis, he had written all the physical attributes that people have. So, for example, if I say obese, that means very overweight. If I say lanky, that means very lean, thin. Okay. On the other axis, he'd written mental attributes or mental characteristics of people. So, if a person is very non-reactive in the face of adversity or happiness, we'll call that person stoic, right? If a person is very reactive, we'll perhaps call him sensitive, right? If a person doesn't talk much, okay, is is very non-reactive, we'll say he's phlegmatic. Okay. If a person doesn't talk much and is prone to sadness, loneliness, then perhaps we will call that person melancholic. So on one axis he had written the physical attributes, on the other axis he'd written the mental attributes, and then he had put names of people. So, if one of his friends, let's say, was very thin, lean, and was also prone to sadness and showing that, oh, I am so lonely, then he would put, let's say, his name was Bob. He would put Bob against lanky on this axis and against melancholic on the other axis. So, anytime he sees the word melancholy or melancholic, he is reminded of Bob and he will remember that word. So that is my bonus tip of the day, that associate words with people or places or events and you will remember them more easily. The fourth method, so actually we are on the fifth method now because of that bonus method. Memorize some foreign words that will make you sound cool when you use them. So I'll start with my favorite word. Okay, this is not my favorite word. That will come later, I guess. Okay. So, Zeitgeist is the defining spirit or mood of a particular period of history, as shown by the ideas and beliefs of that time. So, for example, 1940s, Quit India movement. That was the defining mood of the nation. Okay, we don't want only Swaraj. Okay, We don't want you there at all. We wanted the British out. In fact, the 1940s was the time when a lot of colonies wanted the British out. Okay. So, what was the defining spirit or mood of that period? It was quit India. We want to be independent. We want to be, governed by our own people. Okay. So, Zeitgeist. That's an example sentence. This is one of my favorite words, perhaps my most favorite word. Again, a German word. Okay. Schadenfreude. What is this? A feeling of enjoyment that comes from seeing or hearing about the troubles of other people. So, it's not that I'm not a sadist or anything. It's just a word that I think, a word that captures a sentiment and emotion so perfectly. So that is the reason it is one of my favorite words of all time. So we memorize some words so that we find a good situation, we use them. These are foreign words, these are not English words. So when we use them, they, we increase our vocabulary and of course we look cool. So this was for a live session also. So if I click the speaker, you will hear the pronunciation, but we have gone through that. So Schadenfreude. So we will move on. Method 5, mnemonics. A mnemonic device is any learning technique that aids information retention or retrieval for better understanding. Now, there are, in science, I have seen there are a lot of mnemonics. In physics and chemistry in particular, I've seen that there are a lot of mnemonics. In English language, for example, in English grammar, okay, there is something called coordinating conjunction. Coordinating conjunctions are words that join words or groups of words of equal value. For example, if I say Bob and Sam went to the market. So Bob and Sam are both subjects of the sentence. They are of equal importance in the sentence. And the words that join these words or groups of words of equal importance are called coordinating conjunctions. Now a mnemonic to remember coordinating conjunctions is fanboys. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. These are the 7 coordinating conjunctions, and a good mnemonic to memorize them is fanboy. So anything that helps us, when I said, associate a picture, associate a place, associate a person with a word, that is a variation of mnemonics. For example, if I have a problem with remembering whether potassium has a single T or a double T, a single S or a double S, I remember potassium by saying 1 T, 2 sugars. So otherwise I won't remember, I won't forget the spelling. The only problem would be perhaps in T and S. So when I say 1 T, 2 sugars, I know that potassium spelling will contain 1 T and 2 sugars. Okay. Rhythm, for example, a frequently misspelled word. Use the first letter of each word. Okay. So rhythm helps your 2 hips move. So now you know the spelling of rhythm. So that is another mnemonic, example of a mnemonic. Necessary, again, is it double C? Is it double S? What is it? So a shirt has 1 collar and 2 sleeves. So 1 collar C, 2 sleeves double S, and that is how I remember the spellings of the word necessary. Weird. Weird elephants invade random destinations. Beautiful sentence. So that is how I remember the spellings of the word weird. Remember that vocabulary, in method 1 we discussed that vocabulary isn't just knowing the meanings, it is also knowing the spelling of the word. Assiduous means very hardworking. Always stay steadfast in diligently undertaking studies. So it helps me remember assiduous. I know there is no word for that O there, but that is okay because assiduous, we always know deciduous, assiduous, dangerous. We always know that there is an O in that. And this will help me remember the meaning of the word as well. Then picture based mnemonics. This perhaps is my second most favorite word, serendipity. Uh, in the Arabian tales, there were three princes from an island of gold. They had a flying carpet and they were lucky that they would accidentally find something that would bring them luck, bring them good fortune. So, serendipity, the fact of something interesting or pleasant happening by chance, you are not looking for it, it just happens. Serendipity. Now, how do I remember this word from its origin? So, presumably, the, the serendipity is based on that Sone ki Lanka. So, is Seren is a modification of Swaren. Dip is a modification of Dweep. So, Swaran, gold, Dweep, island. So, the princes were from the island of gold. So, therefore, we get the word serendipity, discovering something interesting, finding something interesting, fortunate, pleasant, purely by chance. You are not looking for it, it just happens. So, now I remember Sone ki Lanka, serendipity, accidental good fortune. That is your picture based mnemonic. The last method, look at the origins and the history of the words that are not from English language but are now an integral part of it. So, some very common words, kismet, that's actually a Farsi word. Yoga, that's actually a Hindi word, perhaps a Sanskrit word. So, a lot of words, see, the British went all over the world, right? So, they picked up words from all over the world. And the more a word was used, the more absorbed it was in the English language. So, we look at some very very not perhaps commonly used words, but very firmly embedded words in English. So, I'll give you the hint, you pause your video, see if you can think of the word, and then you restart your video and you will know the word. So, let's look at word number 1. This word comes from the Tamil name for a low caste group of drummers. So, this is a British era word. Okay. The British picked it up from the Tamil language. Now, this word means someone who's been, removed from the society. People don't want to talk to him. I remember there was this incident that a bank, a private, a cooperative bank, I think it was the PMC bank, that went bankrupt. So, the owners, the promoters of the bank are Sikhs, and the highest temporal body of the highest spiritual body of the Sikhs, it decreed that the Sikhs will not talk to the promoters because a lot of very middle class people lost their life savings. So they were considered outcasts from the Sikh community, the Sikh religion. Okay. So the word originally comes from a group of a clan, you could say, of drummers. Okay. But now it means an outcast. So what is the word? Okay. Now here is where you pause your video, think of it and come back to it. The word is pariah. It's pronounced kind of like apna pariah. So pariah means an outcast. Pariah is also frequently used to talk about street dogs. Okay. Let's look at another word. A job that requires little effort, very little effort, easy to do, okay, pays well, and is described using a word that comes from Urdu or Farsi or Hindi, and the word is for happiness. So, what is that word? What is the Hindi word for happiness? I'm happy to meet you. आपसे मिलकर खुशी हुई. And the word is kushi. It comes from khushi, became kushi. A job that pays well. So somebody once told me that a niece of one of the richest families in India, a niece, okay, not directly from that family, worked for a company that did a lot of work with her uncle's company. So this niece had more clout than the owners of the company. Okay. So she had a cushy job. Let's look at another word. The original words for ending a particular game were Shah Mat, Farsi for the king is dead. So which is the word and which is the game? The game is chess and the word is checkmate. It comes from Farsi Shah Mat. Now it has become checkmate. Let's look at one more word. So there was this fanatical group sect in the mountains of Lebanon at the time of Crusades. And so I've read some comics when I was a kid. So these people, the people of this sect, they would smoke or eat, I don't know how hashish is consumed, but I think it is smoked. So they would smoke hashish and they would be stoned out of their minds. And then they would be told to kill a person. Okay? And since they were stoned, they didn't feel any pain or anything. So they would either kill the person or die in the attempt. Okay? So what is the word that comes from these hashish eaters or smokers and it means killers? What is the word for a killer in English language? The word, because these people were addicted to hashish, they were called hashashin. Okay, I hope I got that correct, hashashin. And the English word is assassin. Let's look at one more word. The Chinese invented K-siap, a concoction of pickled fish and spices. By the early 1700s, its popularity had spread to Malaysia, where British explorers first encountered it. It really became famous in the West after the addition of tomatoes. What food is this? It's a relatively easy word. If you know the word K-siap, what does this remind you of? The word is ketchup. Another one from Rome, Latin. Okay. In the early days of Rome, its soldiers were given a handful of salt every day. The salt ration was subsequently replaced by a sum of money. See, there was a time when salt was legal currency. Now, to sustain itself as a legal currency, a thing has to have durability. Salt did not have durability. In very moist environment, it would just become a puddle of water, salty water, right? A soldier wades through water and the salt dissolves. So that is why salt was eventually replaced by coins. But initially, soldiers in Rome were paid in salt. So from salt, which modern day word comes that denotes wages? The word was salarium in Latin, and now it is salary. Again, going back to ancient Rome and ancient Greece, pebbles were used in the abacus or counting frame in order to carry out basic arithmetic computations. The Latin word for pebble has now become the name for a branch of mathematics. What is that? The Latin word for stone or pebble is calcula, and the branch of maths is calculus. In ancient Roman Empire, a place where 3 or more roads met was usually a good place to find out the latest rumors, gossip, occasional fact. Hence the word for 3 roads came to mean information which may be of use, may not be of use. So 3 is try, and the word for way or road was via. So the word is trivia. And this is the last word for the day. Which liquid is it? Which food is it? Okay. Now when I said food, it automatically eliminated one choice in your mind, because the usual answers I get are fairly evenly divided between alcohol and chocolate. But this word is indeed chocolate. So, to quickly recap, we learn by the method of learning the pronunciation, learning the spelling, learning the usage. Correct? We learn by word association, we learn by roots, we learn by mnemonics. So we've covered all of these. Some books that you can possibly use if you want to learn words by their roots, that is Word Power Made Easy. It's a beautiful book. It was first published in 1971. Norman Lewis was a professor at New York University. He found his graduate students struggling to remember words. So he wrote this book. This book has never gone out of print since 1971 or 70 when it was first printed. And even now, if you just Google word power, it will automatically complete the search for you. It's such a popular book. The other one is all about words. This is more about the stories behind words. So again, a very, very interesting way of remembering words. These two books are very, very useful. And there is a third one that is, I think, all about words, Wilfred Funk. No, it's 7 weeks or 10 weeks to a powerful vocabulary. Wilfred Funk, I remember the author. So that's it for the day. Thank you, and I'll see you next month with another video.